Hey guys, welcome back to our
Real Love Scenario.
Tomorrow will come and girl, I can't wait. It's our anniversary. Anniversary. Do you know what today is?
It's our anniversary.
Hi guys.
Hey, you weren't expecting that word.
I wasn't. I was like, is this an extended version of Real Love Scenario? Like, okay. But that was good. That was a little medley.
We did.
DJ Dre out here. Happy anniversary, my friend.
Same. Well, it was my wedding anniversary, but then it's also our Real Love Scenario anniversary.
It is. That's
which
crazy.
is officially the
Which is the relationship restored anniversary.
Just anniversaries.
I see what you did
You
here.
see that?
I see what you did here. You know what's
Lined it
going to
up.
get crazy. Once you become a millionaire, there's going to be a lot of gifts to buy at one time. I'm just warning you right now.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot to do all at once.
It is.
But it's okay.
It is okay.
You gonna have the money.
Yeah,
I ain't worrying about it. How exciting. It's been a year.
It's been a year of us doing this show. Wow. And shout out to the Real Lovers.
Yes. All thousands and thousands and thousands of you.
Those who have tuned in from the beginning. A year. Has it felt like a year to you?
Sometimes yes.
Yeah.
But in like a good way. Other times no. Like one of my friends was like, are you recording like here? Or are you going, to where we used to record? And I'm like, here. Like we've been here for like a long time. Then I'm like, damn, it's been like 9 months at recording at the Cube.
Oh wow.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like when I think about certain things, I realize the time, but of course we've been having fun. So it doesn't feel like that. Yeah. And I'm excited to see year 2, year 3. Like I'm excited to see it evolve and grow and change. So I'm excited. We've killed it year 1.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. Like I always tell people, you have an idea of what something could be. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, if your first time here, or if you haven't heard the story, like I came to Rhonda pre-COVID, so PC, and that's how I do things now. It's pre-COVID or post-COVID. That helps me know. And I remember sitting at the little ramen place was that your house or your job?
My house. Shout out to that ramen place. I miss it. Akira.
That had to be like 2018, 19 maybe.
I feel like it was 18.
But
maybe it was 9 because I know we met a couple of times.
For sure.
Yes, but the initial meeting I feel like was 18.
And I was like, I have this idea for this digital media company built around relationships. Had no idea what it would be. And I asked Rhonda, would she, come along for the ride and be a part of it? And I think you were doing friending at the time too. So shout
out to anybody that's listening here from friending.
Yeah, shout out to y'all.
Yes, hey.
And then, fast forward some 4 years later.
Yeah.
And actually had the courage to just be like, you know what?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And for those people who have tried to do creative things, especially creating content, you know how tough it is to be consistent. Mm-hmm. It's very, very hard to be consistent.
Yeah.
And even if we didn't get the thousands of downloads and do the numbers that we're doing and create this great audience of real lovers, just us being consistent for a whole year and not missing a week is like a prize in itself.
For sure.
It's something to be celebrated in itself. To do that. So I'm super excited because not only have we been consistent, we've been growing, and we actually have a dope audience of real lovers who have been listening to our show, who are engaged, they're entertained, they actually love our advice, they love our takes. But even for those who don't love our takes, sometimes they still engage and they still are intelligent enough and have a high enough IQ to be like, I don't agree with that, but I still love this show and I can still tune into this because I love the thing you said this week, or I love the thing you said that week. And like I said, you never know when you think of something if it'll work or how it would be received by people. And the fact that we're at this moment a year in and we are a very successful show. I think on Apple Podcasts we're number 67 when it comes to relationship podcasts, and there are millions of podcast people. So to be in the top 100 of our category, like, it's just amazing within a year. And we're not even, Rhonda and I just spoke, we're not even operating at the most optimal level that we could possibly operate. So I hope y'all ready when we rev this thing up. to
For
understand
sure.
how hot it's going to get in this kitchen. And
Yeah.
you better be able to stand the heat. But really shout out first you, Rhonda. Thank you for everything. And
Don't start because
joining.
I'm going first. So no.
But I just want to shout out to our real lovers. That you guys are so amazing. Like literally, like I said, Rhonda and I talk to each other weekly all the time.
Yeah.
We could do this without the mics and the lights and the podcast and all
Yeah.
that. But the fact that you guys are here with us and tuning in with us and engaged in these conversations makes it all worth it, makes it actually motivates us.
Yeah.
Sometimes our weeks aren't going the best and it's
telling
long
you.
weeks, and it's like this is the time that we're like looking forward to be able to have these conversations, because we know that people are listening. Like it's not just a conversation with me and Rhonda, it's a conversation with all of our real
community.
lovers, our community. So thank you guys so much.
For sure.
We appreciate you guys, and we look forward to the next year. We got some really dope things that we're going to
Absolutely
do,
coming.
events, guests, different ways for you to interact with the show. Like we're super excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for 2 seconds. One, I have to obviously return the swing to say thank you to you. Yes, the story of years ago, but to actually bring something to life is a totally different
For sure.
story, especially when you're at the helm of it. And I will say, you know, I was willing to do this with you without a fully rolled out plan. Like if it was going to be a hodgepodgey plan, I was like, I'm gonna still do it. This is my friend. We got this. Well, you know, you sometimes have to learn on the job.
Yeah,
you have
for
to
sure.
you have to fail forward. And the difference though is that you really came together and packaged it and presented it, and you rolled it out like a true professional. I remember more than a year ago, like getting the email about the brand shoot and that this was going to be the opportunity for you to meet everyone that would be the initial shows for the network. And we came to the studio and we knew what, you know, the brand shoot would look like, what colors we had to wear. We had a storyboard, and I'm, you know, taking y'all behind the scenes a little bit, but we knew that we would have this full on shoot day where we would be making videos, introducing ourselves as the host for the network. And we sat down and had breakfast and packaged like a meeting, like a real meeting. And this was all amongst friends. Like all of us are friends directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
Bree, Cece, and Amanda.
Angela.
Angela, Jesus, because we were talking
Yeah.
about Amanda. Angela are real girlfriends. A lot of times when people do business with their friends or their family members, they don't go the extra mile to do all of that because, you know, in deep down inside, your family just gonna roll with you. It don't have to be pretty and perfect. But I was so thankful that you took the effort to do that, because it showed me, you're serious. Like I keep that on my bookshelf. I look at it often, like my deal, you know, like we got paperwork, y'all, like for real, for real. So I knew that I was participating in something that was serious. Although it's something that we joyfully do and we want to do it. It was not hard to follow your lead when your lead was packaged so nicely. So one, thank you just for doing that. I think we all can say, I'm speaking for the network when I say we happily follow your lead in this space because we're passionate about relationships, but we're passionate about entrepreneurship. And it's just refreshing. And it's people that do real deal business, like operating multi-million-dollar brands that don't do all of this.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, we know, we see it. You know what I mean? So thank you for sure. Thank you for that. And I just can't wait to see what we do in the next month, in the next 2 months, and everything you said to our supporters, our community. Y'all have no idea. The DMs, the messages, the comments, they mean so, so much. And the last thing I will say, because you talked about, you know, even people who don't agree with us. I've said this before. I am very much okay with people not agreeing with everything that we say.
Yeah.
That is how you learn. That is how you gain new perspective when you pose an opposing thought process. You know, my only issue is when the words just getting twisted and now you putting in stuff that nobody said. But I am so thankful for the community, for the days where sometimes it's hard, not because I don't want to do this, but just because life be busting your ass and you would rather sleep than work. It's the messages, it's the reviews, it's all those things that are like, I'm going up to that. We going to record today because this is the happy place for sure. So, so thank you and happy anniversary.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's such kind words, man.
Don't start. All right, come on.
I mean,
Come on. I had a long week. You wanna have to cut this podcast off, or you wanna record through? Because I'm not doing it. Because I'll cry in a heartbeat.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I'll just say thank you so much for that. And I'll just end as we go into our show. That for those people who are looking to do content, like if you just take a look at my page. I don't delete or have an archived a lot of content. Look at the progression of videos I've done and relationship stuff that I've done for years as I tried to like figure out what form, what to do, how to do it. The quality got better. Like, what's that one quote about? I think it's that so many ideas are in a graveyard, basically, that people die with these ideas and that they never put out because you're chasing perfection or for it to be the right time. Like, just put things out, try it. And the biggest thing that you do in things like this is you put it out, you analyze, you adjust, and then you re-implement. And that's the formula. That's what we do here. Rhonda and I have changed formats. We've changed segments. We've tried this. We didn't do that. Like we tried to find what makes sense. But I feel like if you're a dedicated person and you give effort to something consistently, and you take it seriously, you're going to succeed in some way. Whether succession or being successful is 100,000 downloads or 20,000 or 2,000, like you're going to see growth if you continue to put effort towards something and do it with all of your heart and mind and soul, and you put a lot into it, you'll be successful. So stay encouraged, don't die with your ideas, and put it out there, because
the world needs you.
What they say in church, when 2 or 3 are gathered, like if you are impacting at least one person or 2 people or 3 people with the stuff that you're putting out, you're doing great work. So there's churches of multiple sizes. There's mega churches and there's small ones in the neighborhood. They're all doing great work. So you can be that too. Just believe in yourself and put the stuff out. So we can get to our show now. Right. We'll get off our soapbox, but it's 1 year, so
we had to. We had to
talk about it a little bit.
Don't be sorry. I think our real lovers appreciated it.
Yeah, they do. And speaking of our real lovers, first we got a little stagnant with the reviews. Let's keep that thing going. Let's try to get to 300.
Push.
We're on 245 for Apple. Let's try to get that to 300. But Tiff for life. Tiff is a real lover.
Tiff.
Yeah, Tiff.
Hey,
I feel like Tiff
was wrote in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she says, and I don't know if I read this, but she says, "Boss, 5-star." She says, "Hey y'all, I'm back." Well, I mean, I never left, but I do plan to write in a review every week. So get used to the username. That's a real lover and always will be. Tiff. Love y'all and thank you for the recent advice.
Oh,
she did this emoji, so I gotta.
Oh, Tiff.
She said, "I'm gonna be back every week."
Get like Tiff. Knock. Get like Tiff. Hashtag get like Tiff.
When we start creating merch, maybe, Tiff, you show up enough and we start doing the call-ins and you give us some good stuff, we might have to get a...
Tiff gonna have to be one of our community moderators. I feel like she building up. Tiff, we down for it.
We might gotta get a Get Like Tiff shirt.
Get like Tiff. I'm back. Ain't never left, but I'm back again. I love Tiff.
Thank you, Tiff, for all the... kind words and also giving us content to be able to help you out.
And I hope that advice helps. I remember her scenario. So shout out to you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Tiff. So you ready to hop into our real life love scenario?
Let's do it.
Lord. People, we have reached the point. Remember in those movies that you used to see, they always used to tell us that, if you watch Back to the Future, by 2022, there's going to be flying cars and all this stuff. Most of the movies have been false of what they thought would be happening in this era.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to this AI stuff, like you've seen the iRobot and stuff like that, it's looking like it's starting to come into fruition. Like this stuff is actually starting to happen. Like
it is.
This artificial intelligence, so much that Elon Musk, and I know a lot of billionaires, if billionaires are saying something that could make them money needs to slow down, then you know there's something to be alarmed by.
Yeah.
But I know that Elon Musk and a lot of different billionaires and AI people wrote an open letter asking the government, like asking people to stop the development of AI for at least, I think, 6 months to a year, because they were like, we need some type of regulation for this. Because if people are just able to run rampant with creating this stuff, like
It's so
we talking about
scary.
people losing jobs now.
Yeah.
Like you gonna roll up to a Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, ain't gonna be a person in sight.
No. And I mean, there are already stores like that. Like
Yeah.
that's a big part of Amazon's new rollout with their grocery stores, that they are like almost
Self-service.
fully automated, no cashiers. I'm sure they use people for stocking, but you check out completely by yourself. And most of us have that experience now. Like you have still some cashiers in the store, but majority of it is pushed for you to check out on your own.
And I'm not gonna lie, I prefer the self-checkout.
I do prefer the self checkout. I'm not gonna lie either, but it's just it is scary on the thing of like what I think a lot of people right now are talking about is like the music, how
Yeah,
like,
like,
oh,
you
you
can
can
take
just take
somebody's
somebody's
voice.
voice. I don't like anything about that.
No.
I don't like anything. I think people think it's cute or it's funny. It's not. Like I don't like when people were saying the Rihanna one where she did Tim's song, "Oh, she sounds so good." She does, but that's not it's not right.
No.
That's Rihanna's voice, and it should
That's
not
still in
be
her
able.
likeness.
That's her likeness, and
Yeah.
if she wants to do that with her own voice, so that she don't have to sing, or she wants to use that when she's on tour for her own purpose to digitize her own voice to use it, cool. But a Joe Schmo in his basement typing in things to create Rihanna's voice and then creating music and selling it, or I don't like that. Like I like Alexa.
Yeah.
I like Siri. I like those forms of it. Anything that can potentially duplicate a real human being and potentially put them in places or cause them to lose money, I don't like it.
It should be aiding, not replacing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's what the big problem is. And that's why they feel like you need regulation. And that's the thing with the US. And I'm going to get to the point of the real life love scenario and how this all correlates.
Ties to love.
Yes, ties to love. But that's what the US is. It's a capitalism driven society.
Yeah.
And for us, as long as you can make $1, whatever is acceptable.
They gonna make it make sense.
Guns rampant, like it doesn't matter. If you can make money from it and somebody has a vested interest from a money standpoint, the NRA will make money, or people who are in Congress get donations from like it's always going to be a thing, to where like other countries, they'll cut out certain things just because ethically it's not right.
Yeah.
Right. We won't do this because it's not right. So I hope that there are some regulations that will be put in place that, even though we have the capability to do it from an AI perspective, that we aren't allowing people to do it, especially like replacing humans in every single interaction. Some things are convenient. Like I know at Zara now, you could just throw a thing in the little bucket and it calculates all of it and you can go without being in line. I like that. But there's other things that, like you said, we're real humans, people who have jobs and stuff like that, that shouldn't be replaced, especially entertainment and art. Like you can't, like we need the nuances of people and all that types of stuff. I know you can get a robot to paint something, but I don't want something painted by a robot.
I saw something where they're trying to do it where the robot puts your like individual lashes on.
Oh no!
Are you out of your
If that thing
mind?
start malfunctioning,
I'm blind. Like literally, boom, no eyes. Like what? This is not easy to walk back. Like if this goes crazy, this is one of the most sensitive things on my body that I need. Like, I mean, I know people can live without eyes. No shade to the blind community, but that's just, again, that's too far. And before we connect it to the love thing, I just want to say this real quick. When I said put people in places that they're not, and that there needs to be regulation, imagine if I'm me and a crime happens in my neighborhood. If somebody can just hear me talking on this podcast, so my voice has been made public by me. Somebody who is trying to get away with the crime or whatever can just digitize my voice and make it sound like maybe I had a conversation and said, "Oh yeah, I did do that the other night," or "I was there the other night."
Yeah.
Now, how do I prove that I wasn't? Or now I have to prove that I didn't do something that I just legitimately didn't do, because any and everybody can just have artificial intelligence access to create things that like aren't actually real. Some of this stuff that I've heard, it's like, I cannot tell the difference between a Drake singing on his own song and the Drake voice on a song that's not Drake's.
For sure.
I don't like it. That, or like a guy talked about his kids, like something can call his children and say, hey, I'm picking you up at 2 p.m. today instead of 3.
Yeah.
And it's his voice, but it's not really.
It's crazy, man. And I would tell people as a warning, when you get those little robocallers and stuff like that, like don't actually talk. Like sometimes I gotta pick up my phone because sometimes I get random calls from people that I need to actually talk to.
Yeah.
But every time I pick up, first I'm silent and I wait, because a lot of those things, they wait for you to talk and then you'll hear like a beep. And then it'll like,
hello.
Yeah, it'll get you into something.
And then you like, hello. And they're like, how are you today? And it's like, I'm good. And they're like,
they're getting your voice. And then also sometimes I just be like, huh? Like I won't even say nothing, because a real person will be like, hello, like, hello. Like, but them things, they ain't gonna do that. So just keep that in mind. But how this relates to our real life love scenario is that there was an article in Time, and I just saw this in a lot of different places, that AI human romances are flourishing. And this is just the beginning. I'm going to read a little bit of it. As AI becomes more and more sophisticated, the intensity and frequency of humans turning to AI to meet their relationship needs is likely to increase. This could lead to unpredictable and potential harmful results. AI companions could help to ease feelings of loneliness and help people sort through psychological issues, but the rise of such tools could also deepen what some are calling an epidemic of loneliness, as humans become reliant on these tools and vulnerable to emotional manipulation. And there's a tool actually called a Replica. And if you guys want to see it, you could take a look at it. It's a YouTube video called the Replica AI Girlfriend Experience. And I know this is a tool that people are using, and you can pay for like a pro experience. You can set the relationship status with this person or this machine, and it will actually talk to you and have relationships with you. It will flirt with you. It will do all these different things. It's insane. Rhonda, what are your thoughts on you gonna get you will it ever get that bad?
Absolutely not. I am so sorry. Like, for sure, no. I would be schizophrenic first. I would be talking to myself obsessively before I get to talking to a digital boyfriend. Like, it's a hell no for me. And I don't mean to, I try not to be offensive. I try not to be condescending. Like, that's not my vibe. But to feel like you have to sign up for something that you know is not real to have a real experience with you, I just lame. Like, I don't know how else to explain that. I can walk it into so many psychological things, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that have already taken deep dives into the dangers of this.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how to encourage people any more than we already do to work on developing real human interactions and connections. It's one thing to not have a love partner, right? A romantic partner. Like, I'm sure that it sucks sometimes. It sucks for me sometimes. I always am honest about that. But nothing can ever replace that.
Yeah.
A digital experience cannot replace that. I know that this thing is just not, it's fake. So I can't get into it. Just like I couldn't get into a fake human. Like, if a person is sitting in my face just lying to me constantly, I'm gonna eventually catch on. I'm gonna get tired of it. It's not gonna be real. And the last thing I'm gonna say about it is, if this person this digital thing is flirting with you and telling you things that you want to hear, no part of you ever wants to like have it for real. No part of you can't marry it. You can't go on a date with it.
That's the next scalable part of the experience that the company could possibly offer.
Like, create the robot. And so then your AI person is like, or your AI partner is like a digital thing that's with you.
Yeah. Or there could be centers to where they can create it, and like, it's possible, and I could see it getting to that point. But, I feel...
Why are we doing this?
It's crazy.
It's no shortage of humans.
I feel sad for people, right? Because, like you said, there's a social interaction issue. And don't let me get on my rant about how we coddle kids too much now. And I understand you protect kids to a certain point, but like this whole thing, like even now I play football in high school and stuff like that. They got this thing where everybody gets in the playoffs now. Everybody, like, there is no competition. Everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets an award. It's like you're not preparing people for real life. You're not preparing people for adversity and things that they're gonna interact with in their actual life. So if you coddle them all their life, when they become an adult and things don't go their way,
Crazy.
they'll fall into depression or feel like somebody doesn't like, or the world's unfair. So I say to say is that I know that for things like this, the only way that it works is if somebody is trying to fill a void, right, in their life somehow. It happens with any types of substances that people use. There's some issue, there's some void that they're trying to fill. Maybe it's they don't have friends, or they feel like nobody loves them, or they feel like nobody truly cares about them. So they try to have this curated experience of this person can't let me down. I even know people who wanted to have a child because they were like, this child would always love me. Like, somebody that will love me in this world unconditionally. That's why I had this child. People get support, like animals and stuff like that, to just, this thing will just love me and be with me and always be there for me. It won't let me down. So I feel like this is what
Just
that's
another version of it.
giving another version. However, like it said in the article, the emotional manipulation that I feel like could happen through this, like, you could really influence somebody to do something that, because think about where you have to be in this state to be there.
First and foremost.
Yes. You're probably not in an emotionally stable state.
No.
So then what they can do to influence you, or say, like, build a relationship and do all this stuff to get you to do things or say things or try different things, like, that's where you see all the movies where AI goes crazy. It's like they start to have a mind of their own and they start influencing, have you doing other things. So it's wild.
It's
like,
scary.
AI, what the things that it can do and the things that it is doing, and the technology is insane.
Yeah.
It needs to be regulated because it has a mind of its own, and
the more it
will be smarter than us,
for sure. And the more we move to relying so heavily on technology, the more that this will be problematic. The reason that artificial intelligence has been as successful as it has been, and why it will continue to be, is because we are, even sometimes doing it to ourselves, we become crutches to technology.
For sure.
We need it. We can't eradicate technology, but we get lazy sometimes. We just default to using technology for everything, even down to learning. Like, I get it. A calculator was created for a reason, but I knew how to do long math. Like, it's
10 years from now, that won't be a thing of the past.
Like, at
I'll be
all.
like, why
you
would
don't
I need
even
to
have
learn?
to know how to write. You can
Addition,
just
subtraction,
type it.
That's all you're gonna need to know. And addition, subtraction, probably how to get percentages and a few fractions, area, circumference, long division. Like, you don't.
It just has to be a balance. It's like we're so scared to be alone, and like, when I say alone, I don't mean lonely. Like, it's okay to not have to be connected to something. It's okay to not scroll the timeline all day. It's okay to not even be on the phone with somebody. It's okay to just sit quietly. It's okay to, like, read a book or just shut your mind off and be with your thoughts. I feel like because we're not okay with being alone, this is why things like this can continue to be so successful, because we just can't fathom being single. Like, we can't fathom it. It's like, well, hey, if I can't get a real person, I'll take a fake one. It's like, no, I'm okay, because I actually, like, I'm okay with myself. I don't want to be alone, but I ain't gonna go and get a digital boyfriend, y'all. That's just that's too damn far.
I mean, it sucks because I appreciate the advances in technology, and I understand the benefits of it and how convenient it can be. But especially me being a millennial, I feel like I kind of told two different eras. Like, I was able to see, like, a, pre all this technology era, but then I also am living in it now. But the kids, the people now who are growing up will never get the sense of community that, people had prior to this really boom of technology. Even when I think of things like movies. Like the streaming services are amazing. I love the access to them. I access on my phone. There's so much different content to watch.
Yeah.
But I kind of miss the days too, to where there was only like 10 new movies out. And everybody was talking about the same movie.
Yeah.
And you had conversations arguing about this movie, arguing about that movie, because it was only 10 out.
Yeah.
So everybody saw the same thing.
Yeah.
You see that new movie that came out? Oh yeah, I'm going to go see that thing. And the conversation was driven around that, to where I don't feel like now you could have anything like that. Like
No.
it would have to be one of those huge like Marvel movies, or like now TV shows are like that, but like never having those group conversations. And I feel like we're missing out on a lot because of stuff like that too.
We're losing our need for one another.
Yeah,
like
the
literally
community.
human or just real life. I feel like even the pet thing is a better example, because the dog is a real animal. It has a life cycle. If my dog started talking to me, that would not be okay. I don't want a digital dog.
Yeah.
I want a real one. Like it's cute, it's sweet, but it has a life
What
cycle.
you're saying too is authenticity. I know I didn't force this thing to be this way to me.
Yes, I didn't curate it to then measure my word so that it knows what to say to make me
and how
feel.
to act. Nah, it's
Yuck.
genuine. Like
It's-
that's what
yeah.
makes it feel better, when people genuinely connect with you.
Yes.
So yeah, this AI thing, we went on a little tangent on the AI, but it's
I don't want to hear nothing about our real lovers having digital boyfriends and girlfriends or husbands and what. Please, y'all.
yeah, it's
Please.
it's insane. And this is different from like Sims and Grand Theft Auto and stuff. I know people do that, but this is like a legit like relationship.
Like you can put clothes on it. You can make it a certain race, a certain size.
It's flirting with you.
Yes.
And somehow I'm sure there's something sexual in this.
Yes, I saw
that
when the
people are
guy like changed it from like friend to girlfriend. He was and paid for a certain level. He was able to then say like he wanted to touch her body, and she would say that it was okay. But before they got to that level, she said, "I'm sorry, we're not on that level." So he just went into the settings and was like, "Cool, no problem. I'll move you to my girlfriend." It's just like, what? Like,
What was your reaction when you were watching it?
I couldn't even get through the whole thing. I really couldn't, because one, the guy who was doing the
Yeah, he
video
was a
was
lot.
intentionally like making it do the worst of
Yeah, he
itself.
was, just to see.
But it was just like, I cannot fathom it. Like, it's just so, maybe I'm just too old. I don't know, but I can't even, my goddaughter who's 20 years younger than me would not do that.
Yeah.
She wouldn't do that. And she's grown up in a digital world. She would not be sitting on the internet with like a digital boyfriend. Like, come on, man.
Well, that's what they feel like the world is going to become. It's going to become this digital space. So like, even that's why
It would literally end population. You understand that? Because you can't make children with a digital.
yeah, but
partner.
they just try to create, and we're gonna get off of this. I know it's a relationship
Yes,
podcast,
I'm sorry, y'all.
but this is one of the reasons that they didn't want Facebook to have its own currency, because let's say Facebook, essentially, if you use the amount of users that it has, it's its own country.
Yeah.
And if it were to be able to develop its own currency, like a Facebook coin or something like that, and you could use it within the community, then you can disrupt a whole bunch. So imagine you have these online malls like Zara's and H&M, and it's all virtual, and you can get the stuff sent to you later, but it's like, that's the world that was trying to be created, was this virtual world. You could have your avatar and you can go in and do things
I
with
saw
your
somebody was
avatar.
at like a
and it's
basketball game, like sitting courtside.
Yep.
They could never afford to actually get courtside. We getting off this.
crazy.
Don't do it, y'all. Rage against the machine. Don't do it. Please.
It is crazy. All right, let's
goodness.
go to our real love scenario.
Yes. All right. So this week we are hearing from Anonymous. They say real lover here. So I met this guy in 2020, pandemic love. We broke up in 2021, but we are off and on still to this day. I've dated others since, but nothing sticks, probably because he is still around. I feel like at times we can be toxic to one another, but we don't seem to completely sever the ties. Well, we restarted in January of this year, and at first it was just he under the mat, sleep over, spend a few days together, and just do us and live life. I have expressed that I would like for us to try being a couple again. He states that he isn't dating anyone else, but we can kick it and do us, and that we will see what happens. Now, before you say it, I know that that is code for nope, I'm waiting for the one, but you allow me here, so here I am. Well, the key under the mat has now turned into clothes in the closet, drawers, and him being in my place for more than a month now. I want a relationship, and I do not think there is one to be had with him. I want him to leave, but I fear he is, as my friends call him, homeless, and I feel bad for him, but I do not want a roommate, and he makes it a challenge to date others. He invites me places with his friends, and he does couple things with me, but I feel like that's just his way of making sure he has a place to stay. I do not know how to kick him out and feel okay with moving on from someone that does not want the same things that I want. How can I get the strength to end this? I am exhausted in all areas, mentally and emotionally. Help me, please. Thank you for writing in.
Thank you for writing in. Got quite a story here.
For sure. For sure. Shout out to all of y'all that had pandemic love. Had it and still have it, because some beautiful things were born out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Kind of going slightly back to the whole AI thing. I think it brought some people so much closer together because you couldn't do a lot of the things that you used to. But seemingly in this person's case,
Yeah.
it brought about quite the toxic connection.
Do you want to talk about that pandemic love?
I mean, sure. We could talk about it a bit because I experienced.
Did you date during the pandemic?
I did date during the pandemic. I dated two people over the 2 years of the pandemic. That when I say the 2 years, when it was intense. I dated one person during quarantine, but we didn't like quarantine together because it wasn't that serious. We literally met during the pandemic. And I don't know if this is a casualty of the pandemic. I'm sure somebody listening will say that it was, but it progressed too quickly. Because
what else is there to do?
We talked all the time.
Yeah.
So it progressed quickly and it ended quickly. And at that point I realized that while we can't go anywhere else, I'm just going to chill on dating. I just kind of made that decision. So once the world reopened slightly, we could be outside, but we had to wear masks and 6 feet social distancing. That's when I started to date again, because that one experience, I was like, I don't know if this person is operating out of authenticity or if they just are scared to be this alone during the pandemic,
for sure,
or during quarantine,
for sure.
For me, it wasn't that different from pre-pandemic. How I was approaching dating, I wasn't oh my gosh, I don't want to be by myself. I'm one of those people that actually really liked quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
I did not hate it as much. Only thing I didn't like was not being able to touch and spend time with my mother and some of my friends. But being home and the world was quiet, I loved it. I feel like we should do it again. Just maybe for 3 months.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm cool with that. I enjoyed it. But from a dating perspective, it
would be different now though. Because now companies got the infrastructure. You working from home. You still working now.
Oh, yeah. You working. You still working. Yeah, some companies never even went back to their offices. But I loved it. And I still had to work through the pandemic. But from a dating perspective, I just think I've encountered someone who might have been love bombing and just too into trying to date so fast because maybe he thought the world was going to end. So it didn't work. It didn't work out.
Yeah, pandemic, it was very interesting. I mean, I have my perspective, which is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But at first, I'll say one thing that you said, just as a general thing for just relationships and advice giving and things that happen, is that I want people to understand there's a difference between dating and relationship advice. Dating is its own thing, being out in the world, trying to find the person, courting, presenting yourself, and then actually being in a relationship is a different thing as well. Some people could give you great dating advice, but not great relationship advice because they haven't been in long-term relationships. Some people can give you, great relationship advice, but not great dating advice. Maybe they've been out of dating for a long time, or how they got their person wasn't I did this or did that. So just saying that. So I feel like dating during the pandemic and relationships during the pandemic probably were two different things. One thing that I'm realizing, so my relationship is very unique. in that Brie and I started a business together pretty much as soon as we met and started dating, and we worked from home the entire time. And now I'm starting to see, now that have this job at Urban One and I choose to go into the office and come back, I'm like, wow, like this is a huge difference from how actual relationships probably are. Like Brie and I were around each other all day, every day, all the time, working at the house. Like every day, all day, we were with each other. Now I'm seeing with this is like, oh, some couples, the relationship is a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, and weekends. If we're not doing separate things, that's not a lot of time that you're spending with that person.
No.
At all. And then the time that you are spending, it's like after a long day. Or when you got to run errands before a long day, like there's not a lot of time. So then when the pandemic hit and they actually had to be together all the time, it was like some people loved it. I don't even
like you.
When some people were like,
who the hell
I can't
is this?
do this.
Yeah.
Are y'all opening the office back up? Like, I need to go. Like, and I just realized,
I'm about to get my own office space. I pay for it out my pocket. Some people really did that.
Yeah, it is. It's true. And I realized that it just opened my eyes. Now I'm going back to work. I'm like, dang, it's not a lot of time you spend with this person. And I feel like that's sometimes with kids, like when they go to school and it's like only evenings, weekends, it's like, it's crazy. And I like the life that I had before to where you spend more time with that person. So I think a lot of people are trying to curate their life to be that way. So COVID or the pandemic in that way didn't necessarily affect me that way as far as the relationship thing, but I did see the impact from a dating standpoint of how challenging that is.
Yeah.
You know, it was good that people had to have a lot more conversation first before actually meeting. But I think, like you said, it had an effect to where it sped up a lot of things in a lot of relationships, because a lot of times too is people, when they get in these environments, they start to fantasize about what something could be or what it would be. And like you said, people are lonely, so they're, you know, if you're trapped in a room or on an island with somebody, don't mean in the real world you would be with them. But if you're on the island with them, you might make the best of that, flirt with them, have fun. You might tell them they're your person while y'all on the island, but then y'all get set free and it's like,
no. I only liked you when we were forced to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't, I don't want to choose this. I wouldn't choose this.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it had an interesting effect on lots of things, but I just didn't have again, I don't want to blame it on the pandemic. I just think it was the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just didn't, we weren't compatible long term.
Got you.
So she said that they're toxic to one another.
Yes.
What do you think? How would you define, or do you think there's some really definitive terms or tips for knowing that you're in a toxic situation with somebody? Like, what is toxic love? Toxic love, I'm using air quotes because love should not be toxic. But what does toxic love look like?
That's a very interesting. It's I think that you have general terms of what people would say is a toxic situation. And I think what people mean when they say toxic is not an environment that is conducive to something healthy being the outcome of this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And people have different interpretations of what that could be. But I think there are general ones, like, you know, things in relationships where you have mistrust, not being able to communicate correctly to one another, disrespect, abuse, both physical and verbal. These are considered signs of things being toxic.
Yeah.
But the thing is that from the outside looking in, it's always easier to see that.
Yeah.
But when you're in that environment, depending on what your environment was as you grew up, or the things that you saw, what you view as being normal, your I guess immunity to the toxicity could be a lot higher than somebody else based off of the environment that you grew up.
Yeah.
I just came back from Belize. We were on a beach and I had my sandals on, but then I took them off. I was walking on the beach and it was like seashell, like this and that. And I was like, how can you walk on this? And then the guy who was our waiter, he's walking up on it back and forth. And I was like, your feet don't ever get cut. He was like, I grew up on the island. Like this is how I grew up. It gets me sometimes, but I'm used to it. And it's like, that's the difference from growing up in certain environments, that sharp thing that's stabbing my foot for me, because I didn't grow up in that environment.
Yeah.
it's not normal to me and it hurts a lot more. And I would probably, even in that situation, do things to remove myself from that hurt because I'm not used to that. And that's not normal to me and what I think should be the experience of walking.
Yeah.
But for somebody who grew up in that and that's their environment and that's what they're used to,
Perfectly normal.
although it may pick them sometimes or hurt them sometimes, this is the norm. So I don't see it as anything different. I'm not trying to escape this. This is just how it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is when you're in something toxic, whether you depart from it or you stay in it, is based off of how you grew up, your environment, and your response.
And I think also like where you are within yourself too,
Yeah.
which that environment often shapes who you actually
For sure.
are as a person. So sometimes you're willing to be in a toxic situation because you yourself are toxic. You yourself are not healed or working on your process to be a better person to you and then therefore to others. So you are almost, not to, no pun intended, but you are intoxicated with negative behaviors yourself. So it's like, well, I ain't crap. So I can be in a crappy situation because I actually couldn't function in a healthy situation.
Sure.
I'm not there yet. I had looked up online just to see how people define toxic relationships. And I really like this definition by Mark Manson. He said, a toxic relationship occurs when one or both people are prioritizing love over three key components to a healthy relationship: respect, trust, and affection. And you literally just said that trust. And I agree, because that's that whole quote unquote toxic love thing, that you stay in really bad environments because you love the person. Love is an important part of a relationship, but I would not say that it is a core function of a healthy relationship, because you can have healthy relationships with people that you don't love, but you respect them, you trust them. And I would even, use affection as like, that's just doesn't always have to be like touching. That's just like kind communication can be considered affection. I can have that relationship with a coworker and I don't love them. I respect them though. I trust that what we're doing, we both are approaching a project or what we do for a living in a certain way, and that we have enough genuine kindness toward each other that we'll do it in a respectful way, AKA a loving way. So I think her, situation I write in, she is in an environment where she loves this person and it sounds like he probably loves her, but does he respect her? Not totally sure, because you wouldn't just take up housing with someone and not think enough of them to help with their household.
For sure.
She don't trust them. And there's probably some affection, but it's rooted in likely lust and just sex.
Yeah.
And so I think they have a very classic toxic relationship just based on what she wrote in about the relationship.
And the good thing is, like, she understands that the person needs to leave. She's just trying to figure out how
to do it.
But I think in these situations, one thing that you can learn from her story is that a lot of these things that are toxic or things that can be detrimental to you are gradual. They happen gradually.
Yeah.
Like, if you think of how us outside of freak accidents like car accidents or gun violence or anything like that, if you think of how people die, or how people, like, especially pass away from in early age and stuff like that, whether it's a heart attack, sometimes, cancer or different things like that, even having a cavity, these things don't just happen after eating one piece of candy corn or like one piece of fried chicken or anything like that. It's a gradual thing, like, that's kind of sneaks up on you sometimes to where it'll be like, oh man, like now my tooth is hurting like so bad, like, God, man. And now the dentist is like, well, you've been eating this for the past 4 or 5 years. Like, this is the end result of it. So when it comes to somebody who's taking advantage of you in a situation, they ain't gonna just first date be like, yo, I'm trying to move in with you, like that. It's not, because you wouldn't, if you saw it like that, you would never do it. If somebody said, yo, if you eat all this chicken, you're gonna get a heart attack in 3 years, you may be like, or in a year, you might be like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. But because there is not that warning sign in the beginning, it's like, oh, okay, no, it's gonna be fine. Or I'll figure out how to manage it, or I'll do this. But then you get to the point to where now it's at a point to where it's like, oh, this is a very hard situation that I'm in right now.
Absolutely.
Like, this is at the point of it seems like no return, or there is no easy way out of this, but it's like you gradually let that happen.
You did.
And you got to watch how people move and what they do, and listen to people when they tell you stuff.
Yeah.
If they tell you like, hey, and she said that she knew like that's cold for, he tried to tell you like,
yeah,
nah, I'm good.
Yep.
And what he did was he did it. Maybe like I said, in my example, you ate something, had some heartburn, it didn't feel good. That was your sign. But then after things died down a little bit, you were like, I'm gonna try it again. And it's like, that's what this is. He just did that. He threw it out. That was a sign for you to take. But then instead of being like, I probably shouldn't deal with this no more, you were like, I can keep trying it. Maybe it'll be different the next time.
Yeah.
And it's like, now you're in a situation. So now he's like, okay, like I can go a little bit further with this and start doing this. I'm about to get up and go to my brother's house. I'm just going to leave this here. Like, I'll be back. Then that's his clothes and drawers there. And then it's like the next day, it's like, oh, can I just put this in here? I see you don't even use this. So I'm just going to throw this. I'm just going to bring my toothbrush over here because like I'm going to stay up here all the time anyways. Like,
yeah.
I need a towel. Like, let me, and then this person, before you know it,
their whole wardrobe is at your house.
They live in here.
Yeah, you're here. You're actually here. You're here. I think that people find themselves in situations that they don't ultimately want to be in because we tend to have a really hard time denying ourselves of things that even slightly resemble what we want. So let's say I want a husband, right? Let's put that at the top. I want a husband. And on the journey to wanting a husband, first I have to want to like put myself out there, make myself available for dating. And that then likely leads to an introduction to another human being, a male. Okay, so we got male, we got husband. There's a lot of things that have to happen between meeting a man and knowing that he could be my husband. And there are phases that we will go through. We'll be dating, likely not each other exclusively at first. And then hopefully if it's working out, then we'll start dating each other exclusively. And then if that really works out, then this person will likely become my boyfriend, right? And then we're in that space. Still, boyfriend is like here, and then like husband is still here, and things will have to keep happening. If along that way, this person is starting to show me things that I would not want in a boyfriend when we were at the dating level, we shouldn't go to dating exclusively, and we most certainly shouldn't be at boyfriend-girlfriend level. Just because I want a husband, I can't always just take the slightest resemblance of it because it's a man that is legally not married, so he could be a husband. It's a lot more that fills that tank up in order for that person to be that. And we don't always take the time to rationalize, okay, yes, I like this person. But realistically, as of right now, I'm seeing that I would not want this in a husband. While I like that he's tall, while I like that he's cute, while I like that we hang out 3 times a week. When we do hang out 3 times a week, he's on his phone 2 out of the 3 times. I don't want that out of my husband. So we have to deny ourselves of said person because he wouldn't qualify. He doesn't qualify. And again, this will take time.
Yeah.
It'll take time. So like you said, it is a gradual process. And as you get through the levels, you have to be able to say, no, you can't have that. No different than when you're losing weight or when you're chasing a fitness goal. In order to get to losing 20 pounds, from where you are today, you will have to deny yourself of many things. You can't have carbs in every single meal. You can't have an extreme amount of sugar in every single meal. You can't have an extreme amount of sugar, period. You're going to have to deny yourself the opportunity to sit on the couch and eat donuts instead of go to the gym during that time. You're going to have to change your patterns if you want what you really want. You have to deny yourself to get certain things and not take the short end of the stick just because you want something similar to that.
And that's an issue. I agree. And that's the issue with a lot of relationships today is everybody wants to take the path of least resistance, right? And they don't want to sacrifice anything. I don't want to give any room, any leverage, anything to anybody.
Yeah.
But I want amazing love. I want an amazing partner. It's like, that's not how it works. Like when you are in a relationship with somebody and you really commit to somebody and it's something that's a true healthy thing, you are opening yourself up to that person and your heart is open to where they can really hurt you and damage you if you open up completely to them. But you can't do that without risking something or sacrificing something. Like it takes work to achieve that level of love that you ultimately want. And like you said, just like if you're losing weight or doing something like that, that takes work. It takes discipline. It takes sacrifice in order to be in those positions. And I think even with this scenario, one of the things that I've said in I think an episode or two ago is the difference between chemistry and compatibility. That's going to be another one of my foundational points. Like I have my a relationship is not two halves coming together, it's two wholes growing together. That's a foundational thing for me. The communication thing that I always talk about, but this is another one, chemistry versus compatibility. Like this guy is not compatible with you. This is not like what you want. Like this is a man that you're taking care of. Like
because she didn't want to deny herself of sex or attention through the pandemic, you took the shorter end of the stick. And now you're dealing with the ramifications of not denying yourself of something that really you don't want anyway.
Exactly.
You don't want it.
And that's the thing, is that the chemistry part of your relationship might be cool. You might like spending time with him. You have fun with him. He invites you out with his friends. So the chemistry aspect is cool. But like I said, most relationships fail and don't work out because of the compatibility aspect. Like your lives have to align. Like it doesn't work if that is very hard to have a relationship with somebody, because that's really what a relationship is. Even legally, if you see what marriage is two free people by the law conjoining to have a joint life, basically. So if you aren't compatible in lifestyles and values and stuff like that, like it's not going to work. You can have all the chemistry in the world. I have friends who I have great chemistry with, right? We're not romantically involved. Chemistry is cool, but actually doing life with somebody,
it's a whole nother story.
It's a whole different thing. I know people who, business partners who are compatible, they don't have great chemistry maybe, but the way they view things, the way they operate, their values are the same, so it works. That can more work than, lack of chemistry. So that just took me back to that in this situation. It's like, don't fall in love with the chemistry if the person is not compatible with you. Or on the flip side, be honest if you're just having fun. Like, don't try to put it in a situation that is not. Like, if you know that I am not at this point, but I like when people, I won't say I love or like, but I respect when people are just like, I'm just having fun. I'm not dating this person intensely, or they're in a situation, they're like, I know what it is. It's just fun. Like, I'm not really seriously, at least the expectation is like, okay, I know what this is. It is what it is, whatever. But trying to make it something that it's not, or trying to, which women, I don't know what it is. We got to do a deep dive, like trying to save men. And I think that there's a difference. Let me say this. That, because I saw my stepdad lose his job when my mom and him got married, like shortly after. And he was out of work, I think for 1 or 2 years or something like that, and still leading the household. But I saw every day I know he was applying to jobs and stuff like that. And it might have been around like the 2008 situation. So you know how crazy that was. But I saw him like going to the scrapyard, like getting metal, like every day, like just doing, like that's a different thing. If you see somebody has an ambition and they're working and they're scrapping and they're clawing, and you understand the situations and the ramifications of everything that's happened in order for them to be in this position, that's one thing. But somebody mooching off of you and like just taking and just living the feet up, like chilling, that's two different things. And you should be able to differentiate a man who's down for a season, who's like working his butt off, ambitious, like setting things up. You could tell he doesn't want to be in this, doesn't like this, and then also will pick up the slack in certain areas, may clean, do the dishes, do the laundry for you, because he understands like, I understand this is not where I ultimately am going to be and want to be, but I recognize the trade-off right now. I appreciate you. These are the ways that I can show you that I appreciate you, but I'm going to get it back on track, and you can see that in my actions that I'm pushing versus a dude that's just like, I'm getting over.
Like, I ain't saying nothing if you're not saying anything.
Exactly. Like, you got to recognize the difference between that, man.
You
Because
do.
it's not the same.
It's absolutely not. And I think obviously also one of the biggest differences in the situation with your mom and your stepdad is that they were married.
Yeah.
They took vows to one another, and a part of that vow says for better or worse. And worse is you losing your job and me being a partner to you to help support that, whether that's through financial support, whether that's through just support and encouragement that I know you'll be able to get back out there, or have you considered this? That's one. But obviously on the way to marriage, you if you're dating someone seriously, you're already creating partnership before marriage. I feel like an emotionally intelligent, or at least just a courteous and a respectful person, whether it's under a romantic guise or not, would not take up housing inside of your home that they know you don't live in for free. You don't live here for free. If this is your own place, you don't live in it for free. Even if you get a discount on the rent, you pay something.
Yeah.
You pay utilities. There's food in the refrigerator. There's food in the cabinets. There's cleaning supplies under the sink. All of these things cost money. Running the washing machine, running the sink to clean dishes, it's all costing money. If a person is living or excessively staying in your home and never, ever, ever offers you anything, I can take out the trash. I can wash the dishes. I can give you $25 a week. I can give you half the rent. I can take on 3 bills. If they're not saying that or just doing that, they are 1000% mooching and using you. No, I don't think any man, even though so much of men's value is rooted in their ability to financially provide. And I know, so sometimes when they can't, there's a certain amount of like shame or fear of communication around that. But I feel like a man who is honorable but just doesn't have the means is going to come to you and say to you, hey, I really love you. I respect you, and I want to go the long distance with you. But right now I'm in a bind. Right now things are hard for me. But like you said, I'm going to show you effort. I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to use the bucket and the towel under the sink to wash your car since I can't pay to send your car to the car wash. I am going to go and do the grocery shopping right now because I can't pay for them. So the least I could do is just go and get them and put them away. Or I'm going to take some of the load off of some of the other household things off of you, because while I can't financially contribute, contribution is contribution. Oftentimes, time is much more of a contribution than money. Me seeing you like actually do things with your time is much more valuable sometimes than just throwing money at it or throwing money at me. So the fact that a person can just live with you, again, excessively, you're not staying a night once a week, you coming back here day in and day out, turning a key. I've never been in that situation, by the way. Like,
well, you said the perfect word. Anytime that I've even heard situations like this, whether marriage or dating, the term that comes up hasn't been paying for this or paying for that. It's contributing to the home.
Yeah.
And there's different ways, like you said, you could do that.
There's different ways to do that.
It's no way that if you're not working, you're not doing anything, and I'm going to work, that when I come home, the house should be a mess.
Yeah.
Or like if there were dishes in the sink last night and then I come home and they're still in there when I come home, it's like, and it's not a gender roles thing. It's not a flex thing. It's not anything. It's that we are both living here. We need to contribute in some way. If I'm contributing financially, the home needs to still be kept up. And that's not a man or woman thing. It's what it makes sense to do.
Absolutely. And you have to do that even when you both bring home money.
Yes. Or even if you live by yourself, you have to figure out a way to do that. So it's like, yeah, that's not okay. But when it comes to the sleeping over part, gradually, how do you, because I would say Brie and I, we were in that situation. To where, you know, we lived separately and then we end up moving together, and that was the story. So how do you feel like that gradually happens from your experience? Like,
I mean, let's say bad and good. So, one, I have never been in a situation where a person gradually moved in with me.
No,
Or
never.
I gradually moved in
Yeah,
with
I
them.
guess. I offered. I
Yes,
guess
like we
that
had
has
a
a conversation.
we had a
Yes.
conversation
It wasn't
before
just
that
like,
happened.
hold on, they live here.
Yeah, it wasn't like, wait a minute. It's been 6 months and you know what? You know what? You actually live here. That's never happened
that's
to
never
me.
happened
No,
to
like
me.
has the amount of nights we spend together increased?
Yeah.
For sure. And then it got to a place where it was like,
Yeah, let's have a conversation
let's
about
talk.
this.
Like,
Yeah.
so we spend a lot of time in each other's places. Have you thought about like us moving together? You know, I think the relationship is maybe now in a place where we do that. And then we formally live together. Even if we choose to just move into the other person's place, we need to do that formally. For me, I need to be comfortable where it's a formal arrangement, meaning you getting added to the lease, I'm getting added to the lease. We figure out how we split the money or split finances. But there has to be a formal exchange. And one of the biggest reasons that I would require, let's say I'm giving up my place to move into his, there has to be a formal requirement because this is now my primary residence.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just live here because if I just stay here, but I have no record of that, you can just do what you want for the most part when you decide, I don't want you here anymore. I need a formal arrangement. I need to be contributing. Even again, if it's not financial, there needs to be some sort of documentation that we have an agreement that we both share this space, that this is just not my place that you stay in or your place that I stay in. So the 2 times that I live with a man, we moved in together. Like we didn't even move into each other's places.
Oh yeah, I chose your own place.
We chose a place and we moved into it together. Both names on lease agreements and formal understandings of how we would manage our households. I think it happens again because there's comfort. You enjoy the fact that this person is staying with you night over night. And that doesn't have to change. What has to change is, okay, now that that's happening 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week, so we're now living together, right? Like, honestly, don't you want to talk about it so that we can combine our income and reduce our expenses? Because I don't want to be paying for 2 places.
Yeah. I mean, I think it leads to the point of what you said before is people fantasize about a certain life, right? And this allows you to play house, in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people like about it is that, you know, I get to have somebody to come home to. I get to do this and we cook and we do this and we watch movies and all this stuff like that. It is convenient to have the person that you really, really like there.
Of course.
And around you. And,
Sure.
And I understand, especially when you get to a relationship, even the honeymoon phase, like, especially if you guys live in the same place, you're over each other's places all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And so I feel like the sleepovers thing is this, and that gradually moves into a moving thing. It's kind of like a might as well thing. It's like, well, you're here all the time. You do this. We always might as well just move in. And I feel like for my situation with Bree, it was kind of, well, it was a lot that went into it. But like you said, we had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But one of the considerations was, well, you're always over my house anyways. Like, this just makes sense, of course, with all these other things. So we just might as well do it. But I think if you're ever in a situation where you have to, like, the person requests access to your home, like the key under the mat thing, I wouldn't do that if that's a literal thing that she did, because I'm about security with my house. Like, I'm not just leaving
Your key under the mat.
key under the mat. I'm not doing that. But you know, whenever you get to the point to where the person feels like it's necessary, or you feel like it's necessary to, like, they're going in and out and so much, and it's this and that, to where it's like, all right, you need to get a key at this point.
It's time to have a conversation.
It's time to have a conversation to be like, all right, you're here a lot. You know, you're coming in and out. We leaving at different times. I ain't trying to leave my key outside for you to do it. I ain't trying to leave my key at the front desk so that when you come back, you can get it and go up. And I'm not trying to do all that. And now either we gonna do this
or we not gonna do this. Yeah, we gonna dial back these sleepovers. It is having direct communication, because progressing to living together versus sleeping over That is what's supposed to happen. That if you want to have a partnership where you all live in the same house, that is a natural progression of a relationship. So it's nothing wrong with that happening, that it goes from no nights over to one night over to two nights over to now you have a key and you come in and you're going. That's a natural progression. But at a point, there needs to be communication around, do we now live in the same household?
Yeah, and you have to understand that. And I think there's like the moving in versus getting your own place together is like a big thing too, because first, if you agree that we're just sleeping over, you may not like this thing I got hanging over there. You may not like this thing I got sitting on the table.
Yeah.
But you could just not like it because it ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
And you can sleep over as much as you want, but this is what it's going to be. But now if we say that we're in this together.
This is your home
this
too.
is your home too. Then that changes. But I think when you move in with somebody, it still can be a point of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you guys actually choose your own place together, then it can make it, your guys' home. Like if you looked at my place before Bree arrived, when she first moved in, it was a big Muhammad Ali canvas. It was like I had an electronic drum set in there. It was like very mannish.
It was Dre's home.
It was Dre's home.
Right.
But then gradually, once Bree started moving in, that stuff started to change, and that stuff started to be put down, and new things started to, because Bree wanted it to feel like it was her home too.
As it was.
I agreed that she would be here.
Yeah.
So then it became that. So we had to make those adjustments. So yeah, those are the things
You just got to
keep in
have
mind.
direct communication as you notice shifts, because shifts are supposed to happen. You
Yes.
just need to communicate at every change. And when he said, I don't want to be in a relationship, like I'm just, let's just see what's happening. That was the time for her to say, okay, cool. So with that being said, let's not stay over so much. Please take your clothes with you when you leave. And that might feel like, well, damn, but imagine how I'm feeling when after a year of dating you or however long dating you, and I ask you, are we moving toward a relationship? And you like, nah, we can just see what's happening. Yeah, well, damn. So we both on the well, damn end of the thing. We all get to negotiate the terms of what we're comfortable with in partnership, right?
Yeah.
Like I would give you 100 things in exchange for 50. Let's just say that's my terms. I get to make those terms. So if you're not sure if we're actually together, then I am not okay with you staying at my house 7 days a week. Simple. Those are the terms. Now you can stay here 7 days a week if you're okay with being in a committed relationship with me. That's not an ultimatum. That's not like a stringent, rigid rule. Those are my terms. That's what would make me comfortable. I'm okay with you having a key to come in and out of here because in my mind, in my heart, you're my man. But if you're just the guy that's kicking it with me, you can't stay here 7 days a week, because truth be told, love, not saying anybody else is going to be here, but I'm going to potentially be entertaining other people even on the phone. And I'm not sneaking around my house to date someone who is interested in me more seriously than you. So you're going to have to go home.
For sure.
Good night.
No, I completely agree.
See you on, it's Tuesday. I'll see you maybe on Friday. Let's figure out something for Friday.
This is the thing. With this situation, she asked, how do I get the strength to end this? And what's more alarming to me than that question, which is okay, because you want the strength, is the sentence before. She said, I don't know how to kick him out and feel okay with moving on from someone that does not want the same things that I want. Number one, if your relationship and being in a relationship with somebody is contingent on them taking advantage of you, that is the only way that it can work. You need to leave that relationship. If that's the only tie that's holding your relationship together, is them taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
If they feel like they can't take advantage of you, then they can't be with you. It's time to leave that relationship. It's not serving you at all.
Yeah.
It's serving them, or the little that it is serving you is not even compared to how much you're being taken advantage of. And you know what that does? That lowers the value of you.
Yeah.
Like it lowers the value of who you are, and you're letting somebody lower your value and tell you you're not valuable enough to have everything that you feel like you should have.
Yeah.
That you're only deserving of this little bit. You don't have a high enough value for me to give you anything else.
Yeah.
So if I can't get you or this place for $400 a month, I'm not going to stay. You're getting taken advantage of. You are $1 million mansion, but you letting this man rent you for $400. And then he's telling you, if I can't pay $400, I ain't going to stay here. In reality, most people be like, oh, bye. I can find a tenant who pay much higher than my actual worth. But you just don't want to have the place empty.
Yeah.
So you letting this man pay little to nothing to stay here. You're dropping the value.
Yeah.
And then what that person going to do when they're there? People who perceive something to be of a lower value treat it as a lower value.
That's right.
So they're going to go up in there and mess up the place. He's playing so many games with you that's going to end up being something that could probably lead to trauma that's going to affect future relationships.
Yep.
Then when you finally get rid of that tenant and you find a new one, they're going to look at you and be like, wow, the inside of this joint is jacked up.
Yeah, that speak.
And they're going to be like, I like the outside, the package, but when I start digging into the inside, looking around,
yeah,
I don't know if it was the person that was here before, but they didn't treat this right.
Yep.
And it's not looking like how I would imagine for somebody who is a big spender in that sense and has high value that can match what you have and what you feel like you can offer. They're going to look at that and be like, nah, I can't do that. Yeah. And that's all because you let somebody who perceive you to have a lower value into your space and keep doing that stuff and take advantage of you. So if you take it outside the relationship, like I said, if you are $1 million mansion, you're not letting somebody rent that out for $400. They're taking advantage of you. So take that in the same relationship. If you are someone of high value, you feel like you're great, you have amazing value, you bring a lot to the table. Don't let somebody stay with you or in that relationship doing the bare minimum. Yeah. They don't deserve you.
They don't. And please don't misconstrue, because Lord, that was so good, Dre. That was nail on the head. When we use terms like high value, when we're talking about that, we not trying to be in the toxic relationship sphere of only talking about physicality, right? No. Because how you determine your value around letting someone like live in your house for free, it has nothing to do with if you tall, light skin, short, tight body. We're not talking about that. It is essentially saying, if you know this doesn't feel good to you, you know that this person is not meeting you at your requirement, because we all get to have those for ourselves. You have to be more passionate about letting them go than letting them damage you by keeping them around. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You have to be more passionate about what you know. I don't deserve a man to lay up in my house, not give me a relationship, and not actually contribute to the household.
For sure.
I don't deserve that.
I'm saying there are places that are $400 and that person should live at those places.
He should go there.
Yeah, where the value is lower.
For sure.
Where we at right here is higher.
Exactly.
And what the thing is that a lot of times, and I still using this real estate analogy, is that if you push somebody on, no, I'm not dropping below this. This is where I stand. This is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. You'll be surprised sometimes people will do the work in order to get to that place. Just like a place, I can't afford this, but if I save up and do the things I need to do, get my credit right. Like, how many people repair their credit, do all these things to become eligible
to buy a house,
to buy something that's of a higher value than what they would have been able to afford if they didn't have their crap together. So keep your value high. Yeah. Keep your value at where it's supposed to be at, because you don't want to lower it to get to people. You want people to raise their self to get to you.
That's right. That's right. For sure. Your value in this scenario, you talk. Baby, hit the table. Shake the table.
My kids gonna be tired of me, boy.
You lay down something.
Come here. Let me talk to you.
Let me say something to you. What you not gonna do is let these people play in my face. You a Smith, okay? But her value specifically in this situation is a relationship. That is what you're saying. The cost of living with you is a relationship. And he cannot afford that. And not maybe even because he can't. He just don't want to afford it.
Some people just don't want to spend their money on
He just don't want to spend his money on it. It's very simple. I know me in the workforce and shopping and all of these things. How likely are you, how comfortable, let me not say likely, how comfortable are you spending $100 on a meal where the food is quality? The ambiance is quality. The drinks.
I'm hella okay with that.
What? Super okay with it. But if you went into McDonald's, no shade to McDonald's at all. We talking about what they sell. So it is what it is. You know what the food quality is there. Would you spend $100 on one meal from McDonald's?
Heck no.
It could be the nicest McDonald's y'all got, but y'all not serving steak or lobster or seafood or any of these.
Even if they did, I'd be like,
you know that the quality of those things are probably not what they are. You know what I mean? So that's it. It's just a matter of you and this person don't align on what you want, and therefore this little house playing that's going on, you just got to end it. And I think a lot of people have a hard time telling people things that they don't want to hear.
yeah.
Right? But I'm sorry, there are so many things that can teach you how to tell people bad news. But I would rather figure out how to tell you bad news than to let you sit in my face and cause harm to me, all because I wouldn't speak up for myself. I'm not doing that. Like, yes, this is about to hurt your feelings. This might even put you in a position where you may not have anywhere to go. But what I require at this time is someone who is willing to put in the work to have a real relationship with me, therefore live with me. That's just what I require. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to wish you all the best, but you not having a place to live that's not my problem. It's just simply not.
And then with the last thing that she's in, with the message that I read, or the last sentence that I read, is that you and him not living together has nothing to do with a relationship with each other. Mm-hmm. If he sees that as a contingency or that being part of it, then guess what? That's not the person for you. That's another sign that you said that, and feel okay with moving on from someone that doesn't want the same things that I want. Why is kicking them out moving on?
Right.
Why can't you still have a relationship with somebody who doesn't live with you?
Yeah.
You can. Mm-hmm. But he's telling you, even though I got $5,000 to spend, I'm only gonna pay $400, and that's even more disrespect. I'd rather have the person who don't got the money and at least they paying cheap versus the person that's saying, I got it, I just don't want to spend it on you. That's more disrespect. It's like, dang, like you got it and you could do it if you wanted to, but you choosing not to.
Yeah.
So that really means that you don't value. You have something to probably pay a higher value, but you're choosing not to because you're looking and saying no.
Yeah.
That's more disrespectful. So that's to let you know how he views you.
Yeah.
He doesn't view you that highly.
No, he doesn't view you as a girlfriend. He doesn't. He views you as the girl that he's been kicking it with on and off over the years, that y'all probably enjoy each other physically, and you probably even enjoy a little bit more than that. But you have a warm place to sleep at night. Because you said that your friends say that he's homeless. So I'm assuming that you telling your friends way more than you told us, your virtual real lover friends, that your friends are saying, girl, that man is staying there and doing this with you because he ain't got nowhere to go. If your friends are saying that, it's probably true, because you are probably thinking that, because now you're telling your friends information that they're like, sis, come on. I don't think he got nowhere to live. I don't. That means that they can even sense there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between what he does with you, how he treats you, to how you feel. Because if it wasn't, you would probably have no complaints. Me and my boo, he stays here all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't feel any way. You would feel nothing. She literally said, I don't think there's a relationship to be had with him. It's not just how he's treating you. Perhaps it's just something that you see in him that makes you not want to be in a relationship with him. So why would you want that person to be in your house all the time?
Yeah, I agree. And I would say, as we close it out, I would give him a date. Hey, this day, I would like you to move out of my home, and stick to that date. He's gonna give you everything.
Yeah,
he's gonna flip it on you.
He probably gonna tell you he want to be in a relationship at that point.
You, like, I thought we were working towards something. We was all good. I thought we was almost there, and now you doing this to me, like all this. And then keep in mind what we said. We can still be in a relationship if that's what you really want. I would love that.
I would love that.
I would love to do that.
I just think we need to remove this piece of it.
Yeah.
See how he acts.
He not going to do good with that. But stick to your date, and then whatever his stuff is, if he doesn't want to stick to that date, whenever he's out the house, figure out a way. Change the locks. Call your uncle, brother, cousin, or something, to help move the stuff if you need to move the stuff or anything like that. And you don't have to go about this in a nasty way.
No. No.
Because all you tell him is like, yeah, I would still like to have a relationship, still like I just need my space back, and I don't feel like this is the way that I would want to approach having a relationship with somebody. I would like it to be something that we agreed to do, or I would like to have our own place that we chose to do together. But in the future, when I actually have a commitment from somebody, that's somebody who I feel like wants to be with me, and if that's the path that you want to take, then we can work towards that.
Yeah.
Is that not the path you want to take?
Yeah.
And then
See
it's
what
like,
he thinks.
yeah, it's like, oh well, do you want to be with me? I mean, maybe. I mean, but this is kind of throwing a wrench in things. Well, if it's throwing a wrench in things, I don't know what to tell you.
Because we earmarked the pandemic as 2020, right?
Yep.
So we talking 3 years on and off. If he's not 100% sure, that's totally fine. But living together is not a good thing to be doing with a person that's not sure about you after dating you on and off for 3
What if you
years.
meet somebody new and you want to have them over?
That's what I'm saying. Like, even if you don't want to just bring them over so fast, you might just want to be home on the phone with them, on FaceTime with them. You can't do that because Mr. Under the Mat is at the house every night. You can't do that. Or you got to say, hey, I'm going out on a date. Come on. Like, that's not... You don't want to do that. So get little homeless baby up out of there. See you stink. You got to get your own stuff. I can get you some housing resources. You know, maybe we can put you in the right direction. I think they got apartments in my building, actually. Check them out. Leasing office is open on Monday. But hopefully we were able to help you, Anonymous. You know, it's not always hard to break up with people or walk away from situations. So we don't want to minimize that. But you got to love you first, right? And you have to love yourself enough to not let somebody undervalue you or not meet the terms of your agreements.
For sure.
So if you want to write into us, you know where to find us, relationshiprestore.com. Click the contact button. You can also follow us on Instagram. I'm Ronnie Cakes.
That is Dre Smith.
And again, happy anniversary to us. We appreciate y'all. Write us a review. Shout us out and say happy anniversary and stuff.
Yes.
Okay? Talk to y'all next week.
See ya.